Back, Steve Arterburn here, and no matter what you believe about something, you have to always deal with what is the consequence of sin, and I'll tell you, a lot of times we think we're going to be punished, but many times the consequence of sin is just the outcome, the result of it, and we hurt ourselves, and so I believe that when we read in the Bible that God is rich in mercy, I believe that to be true, whether we are a believer or not a believer. Let's go over here to Haley, Cedar Hill, Texas. KWRD is the station. Haley, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Maybe we could talk about something easier than our previous caller. So how could we help you today?
I'm not sure about that. So I just wanted to ask, I have, my husband and I have 3 grown children, 27, 24, and 20. And our oldest one came out of the closet about 3 years ago, really broke our heart. And he is now living a full-blown homosexual life and living with his partner. And lately he's been sort of giving us hints about marriage. And my question is I think we have already discussed and told him before that if he decides to do that, that we will not be there to witness that. And that was 3 years ago when we set our boundaries. And but now he's telling us again. So how do we continue to tell him that that's still where we stand, but at the same time, just preserve the relationship that we have with him, because now the 2 other kids are also, they're telling us that they're not going to be there either, contrary to 3 years ago when we discussed that, and they said that's their brother and they're going to be there for him. But as they continue to grow in their faith, now they're saying that no, they cannot witness that, and we're all in a situation to where, we want to continue to love him, but we don't want to break the relationship with him.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question. You'll probably think, well, what a ridiculous question for me to ask. Why is it that you've decided you will not go? And don't assume where I'm going to go with my response to that. But tell me legitimately why you've decided you will not go to that wedding.
Because, it's just something that I believe that God does not honor that kind of union. And we have, I have known from the beginning marriage is only for a man and a woman.
Yeah, right.
And I just know that it's not honoring God. So I don't want to witness that.
So what I'm hearing is that you genuinely believe that if you go, it's saying that you don't think those things are wrong. Is that right? That you have to not go to give the message to everyone that you believe it's wrong. I'm just trying to get clarity here, because what what I don't want is you to not go because of what somebody would think of you.
No.
So yeah, go ahead.
No. I believe that it's completely wrong the way he's living his life.
Right.
I know that we all have struggles.
Yeah.
But he keeps on telling us that, he didn't choose this life, that he was born like that, and that we just don't understand. So. And
is he saying that he won't be part of your life if you don't come and attend?
Well, actually, he got mad at us a couple of weeks ago, and now he's wanting to, have some space because we voted for someone that he's not voting for.
Yeah.
And he just believes that man. Yeah.
That's perfect. Do you know why that's perfect? Because what I was going to say before you even said that was, he is asking you to accept him, and yet he is rejecting the 2 of you in who you are. And so I think the discussion should be around, wait a second. We were adjusting to you. We're accepting what you're doing here, and we love you and we care about you. And all of a sudden you're coming up not accepting something you've known about us for years, and you're just expecting us to walk away from what we believe to be true, from everything from how you're going to live your life to who ought to be president of the United States. So that was where I would be talking with him about, I think you need to stop and look at accepting us if you're expecting us to not endorse what you're doing or approve of what you're doing, but accept that that is the reality that you've chosen. Alice, you have a thought here.
Haley, I recognize that you're in a very tough position and you want to prioritize your faith. I actually think it's possible that God might want you and your husband and your sons to go to the wedding. I think about how Jesus went to the houses of sinners and the parties of sinners, and other people said, how could you do that? How could you approve of them by getting close to them like that? And his attendance wasn't approval. His attendance was drawing close to them for relational sake, so that he could influence them towards God by his love and his presence. So I want you to think about being willing to ask God, do you want any of us in the family to go to this wedding?
Yeah, and I want to hear a comment from Milan. He always, puts a little zinger there after the break. So we'll hear the zinger or the zanger right after this. Glad you're with us. We're back, Steve Arterburn, your Milan. We're talking about the issue of how do we stay in the life of a child. We don't approve of what they do. We don't want to excuse it or endorse it. How do we do that, and what is right in the case of a son marrying someone else? And I was talking at the break about, if that was my son, I just don't know that I could handle watching them embrace and kiss and stuff, and so I get it why somebody wouldn't even be able to attend. But what are your thoughts here?
Well, Haley, thank you for your call. This is a big deal, and it's obviously a highly controversial as amongst Christians especially, but it's a big issue within our society.
Yeah.
So thank you for calling. 3 things. Number 1, when your son says, but I've always felt this way, 1 Corinthians 6 verse 9, just jot that down. 1 Corinthians 6 verse 9 says that all of us have propensities in various directions. Or you not know that thieves, covetous, revilers, swindlers, effeminate, homosexuals, adulterers, fornicators will not enter the kingdom of God. And such were some of you, but you were washed, you were sanctified. What that tells me is there's a variety of propensities people have. I don't think of myself as having propensities toward being effeminate or attracted to males, but I have a lot of propensities toward fornication and adultery that I have to say no to once I receive Christ as my Savior, because he says to say no to those. So I have to deny something within my flesh. I have to say no. I've never had a problem with stealing and reviling and swindling. I didn't have to work hard on those. But what does my flesh want to turn into? And I don't have permission to do that any more than I believe your son would, because he's attracted to a male. To act out on it is the question. People do have propensities. I know people that have same-sex attraction, but they've chosen to be celibate and not act out on it. And I completely endorse that, as I would have to endorse.
I actually prayed for that, but
but you see, that needs, if your son doesn't get that, that needs to be your position to say, I can't endorse this thing. Then number 2, I think I have close friends who chose to go to the ceremony because they wanted to maintain relationship, having stated their position to their adult son or daughter, and telling them why they're coming and that they're not coming to celebrate something. So I'm coming to be with you because this is important to you, but I want you to know I don't agree with it. Now, the LGBTQ community teaches its people that if a person doesn't endorse and support wholeheartedly, then they are either a hater or a phobe.
Right.
See? And I say, no, that's not true either. I won't allow you to give me that title because that is not what I am saying on the inside. I'm not afraid. I'm not a homophobe. I'm not afraid of same-sex attraction. I'm homodysagreic. I disagree with it based upon what God says. This is his opinion. He invented us. So then lastly, I ask people, would Jesus go to the ceremony? And a lot of people say, well, yeah, he would. And I go, well, would he perform the ceremony? Would he take two people that of the same sexual relationship, and would he perform that ceremony? Something that the Bible explicitly says is wrong, and that he died to forgive. Would he perform the ceremony? And my answer to that is no, he wouldn't. No more than he would endorse any other kind of sin. So I think we have to stop and ask. And so I think the delicate part is, can you state your position, state how much you love, and tell them what you can do? So I could come to the ceremony, but I'm not going to come to the big celebration afterwards, because to me it's not a celebratory event. I'm coming to the ceremony because I love you, and that's the only reason I'm doing that, because I don't want to lose you as a friend. And then you're going to have to decide if you want to maintain a friendship with me. And it has got to be one of the worst places a parent could ever be. I got to tell you that, Haley.
Mm-hmm. There is another painful area to look in this, because sometimes same-sex attraction is exacerbated by parental disconnection or in early childhood. And so, Haley, as you and your husband consider together, did either one of us really struggle to relate to our sons, to get down on their level, to connect with them emotionally? If that was true for either one of you, then I think that's more reason to attend, to try to repair the parental disconnect.
Okay, and just to complicate things further, to give you what kind of a different perspective, I am the most pro-life person you'll ever meet. And someone asked me, if my daughter wanted to have an abortion, would I drive her to the abortion clinic? I said, absolutely would. They said, well, why in the world would you do that? I'd say, because I would want to be able to connect with her right up to the last minute, hoping that maybe something of value I would say. And then, because I know of the hurt that so many people have after an abortion, it would kind of give me the right to comfort her and be there for her when she does what I did and wake up to what has happened here and what she did in destroying her own child. So why am I even talking about that? Because I just think that sometimes we need to do things that give us entry into a person's life when we think maybe down the road this could really help here. But not endorse, not excuse, not what we're talking about. All right, 1-800-229-3000 for radio, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's the phone number where you can get some help, or you could call us and help us.